Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL for the final evaluation race before F1 starts on 2020 season 26 of PSGL. The placements will be announced on Wednesday at 8 p.m, but they're doing 3 more evaluation races tonight. We've got one that is currently being done by Jay Warrior. That is a line-only one. Jess is doing a no-assist one. And myself, Luke Etheridge, and Sam Thompson are doing this second no-assist league. Because let's not forget, if you want to get into the top tier this year, Sam, you're going to have to get used to using no assists whatsoever. No traction control, no ABS, and what will be a big change for quite a few drivers, no line.
Yeah, and of course, probably most drivers on this grid would be thinking about no assist already, and well, obviously they're doing no assist. They would be thinking about maybe getting themselves into F1 or maybe getting themselves into F2 as well. Some of these guys, I say F2, obviously that's line only. However, they may think that this is a good opportunity to show what they've got, and if they get into F2, obviously that's one small step off getting off F1, and it's good preparation, therefore, for them to go along with it. But yeah, most of the drivers tonight would be having the goal of F1, so let's just hope they can fulfill that, some of them. But there's so many no assist lobbies already. I think there's been 4, hasn't there, if I'm correct? Which means obviously 5 drivers. If it was equally spread out, of course, it may not be, because some drivers are probably slower There's probably slower grids or quicker grids than some grids. So yeah, basically it's going to be a battle to get into F1, and only a quarter of these drivers approximately will get into F1 at the end of this.
Yeah, definitely. One of the drivers who will be aiming for F1 are on board now. Ash Best, he was a reserve last year in F1, so didn't get a chance to get too many points. Did race in the Formula Performance though, and did well in that. So he'll be a driver that is aiming for F1 most certainly. Deso, who's his teammate tonight, he was also in F1. And Belgium, all the evaluation races have been held around this Belgian Grand Prix circuit, just over 7 kilometres long, 7.004 kilometres, so just underneath 4.5 miles, and it is a proper racer's track. I can't think of anyone who doesn't enjoy driving around Spa.
I don't mind it. I don't think it's the greatest one. I hated it on the last game, if I'm honest. It wasn't my favourite track. However, in real life, you got to admire some of the iconic corners, like the bus stop chicane, of course, El Rouge, La Source, you could argue is there as well, La Com as well. And there's a lot of iconic corners on this track, and this track's just iconic for many reasons, of course, including the fact it's the longest track on the F1 calendar. And it's just a brilliant track to drive. It's fast flowing, and like you said, it's a real racer's track. It's not really one you just drive around. You can race around this track and really have a great race.
Yeah, most definitely. We're just watching Ashton come through Lacombe, turns 5, 6 and 7. It's getting a bit wide on the curve down as he heads downhill to the Bruxelles chicane. Just locking up the front right slightly. Expect to see that a lot into that downhill braking zone. The no-name corner at turn 9. It's very easy to run wide there and invalidate your lap, but Ash has managed to keep it nice and clean. And then through Pouhon, slight lift through there, staying in 7th gear, 180 mile an hour at the first apex there for that double left-hand corner. Then it's the campus chicane at turns 12 and 13. Just keeping it nice and smooth through there. Again, it's easy to run wide and invalidate. Downhill again slightly into Stavolo. And then you're flat out now through the Paul Frere corner, where you need to be careful of that barrier on the left-hand side. It has snared many a victim over the years in real life and in F1 games. And you're coming up to Blanchimont. Used to be a fearsome corner, now in a modern Formula 1 car, as you can see, easily flat in qualifying spec. And heavy braking for the bus stop chicane down to 2nd gear, about 55 miles an hour there at the first apex. Short shifting to just get that extra traction on the exit of the corner, and I shall be very pleased with that. A 141.325. You'd expect a low 141 probably gets you pole. A 140, I think anyone who gets a 1 minute 40 time will be starting on the front row.
Well, we have seen it, of course. Obviously, we can't really say much about time trial, because time trial, everything is basically on the plus side, really, for you. Like, feels like perfect, you're always in the hot lap, and things like that. So you've got those things at an advantage. However, I do reckon that some drivers can get in the 1 minute 40s. I was doing a session with Cohen and Messina, and I noticed that V Messina got a 1 minute 40.8, and of course that's not with the pressure on, so it also just lies into the fact of, will these guys concede to pressure, or would they use the pressure and soak it up and use it to their advantage here tonight?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Messina's currently half a second off his optimal time trial time, but like you said, Sam, conditions are different in qualifying, and there will still be a bit of track evolution. You always get the fastest times at the end of qualifying. We've got LR Patrick then, he was fastest in the middle sector, maybe suggesting he's put a bit more downforce on that Renault, goes slightly deep into the bus stop chicane, heads towards the finish line. That is a 1:43.565 for him at the moment. We've got a couple of drivers invalidate their laps. We'll go on board with Zhu Ho Bin. He's gone for the medium tyres, an interesting choice at this qualifying session. Obviously you will lose a lot of time around here, and I did quickly mention there, Sam, you've got to compromise on setup here, because the first and the final sector is all about top speed, but that middle sector you need the downforce to be doing a good job through the corners, and also to keep your tyres in a good condition.
It's a great thing about this track, it's so difficult to get a perfect setup, and like you said, you've got to think about what you need to sacrifice. The third sector and the first sector, of course, are both almost just straights pretty much. There are not really many braking zones, and then you just got sector 2 there, which has all the braking zones there, and you just got to think, like, where do you really want to make up most time? If you make up most time on the straights, then, you know, it's about preference, really. Through the corners, you're going to be very understeery if you're going for a setup that probably favours the straights in sector 1 and sector 3. However, you could be severely compromised in sector 2, of course, because that's where all the corners are. And it's also a preference whether you prefer oversteer and understeer. If you prefer oversteer, then, you know, you'd want a little bit more of a higher downforce setup maybe to help that, while understeer, you'd probably be fine with going for something that you would probably prefer on the straights. So it's just interesting to see what drivers and what their setups say tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately for Juho, he had a bit too much understeer coming through Puhon, unvalidated that lap. Wasn't looking like anything spectacular though, as you'd probably expect on the medium tyres. On board then with Cohen, with one of the Schumacher tribute helmets on this game in the Alfa Romeo. I've said this before, this might not be the first time in the near future that we end up seeing a Schumacher helmet driving an Alfa Romeo. We'll see how he does for the first sector. 29.8, I'll be happy with that so far. And Sam, you're planning to race in PSGL this season, I believe?
Yep, I've signed up for season 26. I've done all the things that you needed to do, the time trial. I've done the evaluation race as well, and I think it's gone pretty well. I've signed up and I've got the ambitions of being in maybe a middle tier. I'm looking at maybe being on the Sunday. I'm not really as quick as some of these guys, dare I say it anyway. But obviously all these guys will be looking on different days as well. Some of these guys are going for the no assist, but maybe it's just to compare them to some of the guys who maybe are looking to get in F1. Some of these guys maybe perhaps looking just to get in the lower tiers, but maybe just get a sort of taster of what no assist is like, which I think will be rather interesting tonight to see for most of these drivers, really, because some drivers may want that, and then other drivers may want something different and just want to compare themselves to some of maybe possibly the top drivers in no assist.
Yeah, certainly. You'll definitely be faster if you get it right on no assist, but it is that getting it right that can be so tricky for many drivers. Personally, if I was in PSGL, I'd definitely be in one of the double-digit tiers at the moment. As you see Cohen just go fastest there with a 1:41.319, 6 thousandths of a second ahead of Ash Best. It may be the longest track, but with half the qualifying session to go, top 3 is separated by half a tenth of a second, so it's suggesting things are going to be pretty close in this session. We've now got Lars coming around. He's about to go up to Puhon. You might have known him as Unleashed Lion before in the Mercedes, looking pretty smooth at the moment. Doesn't seem to be pushing too hard there, staying off the curbs. Do you think that's because with only 9 minutes to go, he doesn't want to invalidate a lap time? Obviously, if you do that around Spa, being such a long circuit, you haven't got as many chances in this 18 minutes to get a clean lap as you have at some other circuits.
It's very difficult because it's very long as well. One simple mistake can lose you a few tenths around this track. And with it being so long as well, you have to have a good share of consistency as well. Because like I said, a simple mistake can lose you a lot of time around this track. But it's similar in some sense. Obviously, it's much bigger than Austria. Like, Austria, you've got to basically put the lap right in. A simple mistake won't be as damaging as Austria, but still a simple mistake can be compromising because of how long this track is as well. But it is definitely a track that it's very difficult to get set up correct. It's very difficult to get your lap completely correct, and with it being such a long lap, also pressure's going to stick with you quite a while if you do fall to that as well. So all these drivers will be thinking about all this, and without it being a short lap, it's not over and done with very quickly, and there's a long way to go until the end when you start the lap.
Yeah, most definitely. Lars did go fastest there, 141.187. It didn't look as though he was pushing extremely hard through some of the corners, so I've got to say, if he goes a bit more extreme, pushes the car to the edge of the track limits, he might be able to get into that 1 minute 40, but that is still good enough for provisional pole position at the moment. Going on board then with Atomic in the all-orange McLaren, Lando Norris's car number 4. Just heading around Blanchimont there, 200 miles an hour. They won't quite see them speeds in the race, obviously, once they're in the lower ERS mode. He's just heading round the final corner now. Where can he go at the moment? His teammate Kolesnik is down in last place out of those that have set a time, and Atomic goes up into the midfield then in 18th. We've got the Confessor coming around, the Stavalo and Paul Frere, and you really need to have a lot of confidence in your car around some of these corners, especially in the race, because dirty hair does seem to play a bit of a bigger factor on this game than it has done previously. So you might, Eau Rouge, Vadillon and Blanchimont might not be as easy flat as they are necessarily now in qualifying when you've got light fuel load and very sticky tyres.
Well, yeah, racing as well on this game is a lot more difficult as well. You may become a little bit more frustrated because, of course, it's more difficult to sit behind the car like you see in real life with the dirty air. So racing on this game can be quite frustrating. I have noticed also, it was something we saw in last game with the F2 cars. If you used them quite a lot, you may be aware, of course, the engine temperature goes up when you're behind the car. You didn't really see that as significant in the F1 cars. And this game, I tell you what, it really does. Your engine temps can get up to around 130 degrees Celsius if you are stuck behind a car for a very long period. And heating that engine up will mean that you will not be able to reach the top speed and probably won't get the most out of your car. Which, like you said about this track having a lot of straights in Sector 3 and Sector 1 and Sector 3, of course, that means that it's probably not going to give you a good lap time. So, although tows can be good, you don't want to be stuck in the tow for a very long time because then you're not going to reach your top speed. So, dirty air is a massive factor in this game. And, of course, again, as well, tyre temps as well, so much more difficult to manage on this game. Maybe this isn't a track really to go by example. It's quite easy around this track. However, tracks like France, for example, and more importantly Zandvoort, which is a new track, it's actually quite difficult to get to.
Yeah, most definitely. France, always been known as a bit of a tyre killer. Zandvoort, as you said, with all them banked corners, really does put that front left tyre under extreme stress. And then there's Singapore, which has always been one of the extreme tyre wear tracks. 4 minutes 50 seconds remaining in this qualifying session. We've now had Ash Best go fastest of everyone with a 141.091 in the Red Bull. Lars still second. Cohen, Martina, Confessor, Dezo, Joss, Legend, Atomic, Bjorn, Height, Mikolasi, Chaos, Patrick, Kolesnik and Juho, who is still not set a lap time. He is going for them soft tyres, unsurprisingly, to give himself a better chance. And it's only Cohen who's on the fast lap at the moment on fresh tyres, and this could well do with being his final lap possibly, because he may not have enough time, obviously, after he's done this, to get back to the pit. So really needs to nail this, and he has done through the first sector. 42 thousandths up. He's going to need to find a bit more than that in the second and third sector to get on the front row. But now, obviously, the track has evolved. He's slightly more used to how the tyres are feeling in these weather conditions, because they do play a big part in F1. Now that he's got a pretty good banker lap in, he might be able to go for it a bit more on this lap.
And I was just about to mention, you saying about maybe the soft tyres were better than the mediums. You have to start on the soft tyres, I believe. You have to do the strategy soft to medium in the race, because PSGL regulations in the evaluation says that everyone has to be on the same tyre choice, because of course it's a quality again, but not only that, it makes sure that everyone's got I just said equality, but basically is what I was just about to say. Everyone's got an equal chance to set good times on the softs first and then times on the mediums. And obviously they take a look at that to decide the grid. They also have the time trial things, which has actually closed yesterday at midnight, so everyone I'm sure has put their times in for that. But yeah, mainly the evaluation race. Cohen's come in, which I'm assuming he was probably just doing an installation lap.
He invalidated.
Perhaps he'll come out again. He did invalidate. Was he on an out lap? No, he wasn't, was he?
No, he was on a hot lap, and it was looking pretty good. He was about 3 temps up. Mazzina's got himself stuck in traffic here behind Juho, who is on a hot lap as well. So this could get a bit tasty coming through Blanchimont in qualifying. As you can see, he's going a couple of miles an hour faster than everyone else was. He's getting a tow. He'll have to maybe dive down the inside into the bus stop chicane, which is not what you want to be doing. He's ended up giving him a tap off the circuit, and that is not what you want to see at all. No damage on, obviously. There's a bit of frustration coming in there from Mazzina.
He's improved.
He does go faster, so obviously getting a bit of help with a tow, but I can think of one man who won't be too happy with his tactics there.
Yeah, I think Juho Finn is still compromised Mazzina. At the end of the day, it was unfortunate really, but obviously he's on a flying lap, isn't he, Juho Finn, so he must do that, but it's completely probably annoyed Mazzina. He could have gone 2 or 3 temps, I reckon, out of that tow. That slight tap there, obviously, of course, locking up as well. He went wide in the corner. He probably didn't get his optimum line or anything. Didn't reach the apex on the inside of the first corner of a bus stop, of course. And, you know, that's compromised probably around a 10th or 2, maybe even a little bit more. And I'm pretty sure Mazzina must be well annoyed. But he'll be happy that he's got pole for now, but like you said, the track evolves over time, and all these guys coming on an out lap now onto a flying lap in a few minutes. Well, not in a few minutes, in a few seconds perhaps. They'll have that chance much better than what Mazzina does now, because Mazzina probably can't put in another lap now, and no, he can't put in another lap because he's out of fuel. So, big disappointment for him, but he'll be happy that he's got a better time though, at least.
Yeah, we're happy that he's on provisional pole for now. Big disappointment for his AlphaTauri teammate tonight, Bjorn, who's currently in that 10th position. Let's not forget, if you do start in the top 10, you have to start on the tyres that you have qualified on. Normally that would see alternative strategies for those 11th and below, but as Sam mentioned, everyone does have to go soft, medium, and with damage being off and safety car being off, they don't have to worry about any other trick strategies. It is just to try and make sure that we do see the best pace from the drivers. Who is looking good on a lap at the moment? Deso coming through sector 2 now. He was 10th down in the first sector, 6 temps off pole position at the moment, so needs to find a big improvement to move his way up through the order, and we have seen quite a few drivers go about 2 or 3 temps up on their personal best through this middle sector, where that extra rubber on the track is giving them that additional grip. So we'll see what Deso can do at the moment, as he's just about to reach that second timing point, and he has gone faster than his personal best. 1.5 temps up at the moment. He finds a bit more here. He could knock Confessor out of the top 5. This will be his final lap, as the checkered flag is now out in qualifying. See there, second to 9th place, all on a flying lap. Mazzina just getting out of the way there of the Red Bull. Now can Deso improve anymore? He's going to be one of the first people to come across the line to finish. Legend has stayed in 8th position. Deso does move ahead of the Renault, goes up into 5th position for now. We've got one of the racing points coming towards the pits actually, and that is Chaos, and Kolesnik has followed him in as well, so they're staying down in 13th and 15th position. Just trying to see who we've got coming towards the finish in that line now. Jose in the Williams, they're currently 7th and 8th, a position I'm sure Williams could only dream of, although this season does look a bit better for Russell and Latifi. We'll see now Joss coming towards the finish line. Slight improvement in time, but not in position. He stays in 7th.
And the Confessor, or if you do know who that is, that would be Marquises, who does make a return, of course, to the league race in this game. He took a break last game, but he's come around the final corner now. I didn't check if he was up or down. He looks like he's going to set a really good lap time here. A 41.2, so he was up and he's pushed himself up to 4th place here, so a good league racing return, I suppose, but we're not into it just about yet. We're getting closer, of course, and we'll be back underway in about a week's time, really, so it's going to be really, really interesting to see how everything plays off when it all does get announced, and people who will be happy and not happy. And Cohen setting the times really just off Ash Best, who does set a 40.8, so I did say the 40s were possible. Someone's reached it, but he's the only one that looks like he's reached it. unless Hype Skull, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, does. He's got a 42-1 at the moment. He was 3 tenths up, so I don't think he will. But what time will he get? And that's not actually a proper time.
No, he's back
He said he was
top.
3 tenths up.
Yeah,
It said he was 3 tenths up.
He must have got it wrong coming up for Stavolo, but yeah, for the first time ever, I've made a prediction that was right. I said if you got a 1 minute 40, you might find yourself on pole position, and only one man did. That was Ash Best, so the Red Bull looking good. Cohen in second place, maybe, who knows, if he hadn't invalidated that lap earlier on, could he have been higher up? Same for Mazzina if he hadn't been stuck in traffic. He's third. Lars is fourth. Confessor on his league racing return in this evaluation race is fifth. Deso 6, Josh, Atomic, Legend and Bjorn rounding at the top 10. The top 10 drivers separated by just over a second. Bjorn has a 5-place penalty, actually, which we missed there, and so does Hype, so there may have been contact between them. Then it's Mikolitsky, it's Always Chaos, Patrick, Kolesnik and Zhu Ho Fin rounding out the top 16. The only 16 we'll be seeing here, and you've got to say, Ash looks pretty quick. Cohen looks quick as well. Qualifying's one thing, racing is another. They're going to have to see who can manage the tyres the best. He said it's not a big problem around here, but starting in first place sometimes isn't ideal just because of that long run from La Source all the way down to Lacombe. Even without DRS on the first lap, whoever's first going out of La Source could easily get slipstreamed past before we've reached the first corner.
Well, yeah, and of course you don't really want to be in battles too much. This is only an evaluation race, and where race pace is evaluated, so your racecraft may be evaluated in the races. However, it's all about your race pace, really. Since obviously they'll get a rough idea of what everyone's racecraft should be anyway within the league. Obviously there'll be concerns brought up if there's any need to, of course, but it's more about your race pace, not really about the overtakes too much here tonight. So if the action is a little bit lackluster, obviously there's your reason, but I'm hoping it's not. I doubt it isn't. I am sure we are going to get a lot of action, like we always are set to do in PSGL, of course. But, I mean, like you said, on the straights, it's going to be difficult to defend because it's a very long run, even without DRS, like you said. The overtake button, many people say, oh, it's OP. Everyone will have it on the first lap, however, you've got to use it wisely. And in my opinion, use it strategically in this sort of race, because it's your race pace that's evaluated, like I said, and if you don't use it strategically and you use it just on one lap and on the rest of the laps you just like a sitting duck and everything, you're not really going to get the best out of it, because consistency is key in race pace, and you will fall down the field eventually. And not only that, it may put you in a difficult position in terms of where you may be placed on Wednesday.
Yeah, the placements will be on Wednesday. We've already had the placements for the Formula Performance League, and you can check them out on PSGL's Twitter page at PlayStation_GL, where obviously all the news and latest tweets about all the new placements for this season will be posted. There's always one driver who doesn't follow the instructions as well. I've learned that from these PSGL races, and tonight it is Patrick.
Oh dear.
It's just colour coordinated with the Renault, I think.
We had to have someone who didn't follow the rules. I mean, we can't really blame them. Not all people do use Discord. Some people have even said to me they don't know how to use Discord. I'm like, it's not that difficult. It's quite easy. It's like your general social media, but some people are a little different. Some people may find it a bit overwhelming with all these different channels they're looking at and everything. I mean, fair play to them, but obviously it was in the rules you do soft medium, so Patrick may be a little bit hindered here. However, I'm sure it's not going to be too bad of an issue there, because I'm pretty sure obviously the directors, the admins, the people working on obviously evaluating these drivers and placing them into the tiers will not really worry about it, because I'm sure Patrick will do medium to soft anyway. They'll just have to sort of flip their sort of thing around. So it's a difficult one, but I'm sure Patrick will get away with that. I'm sure it'll be fine, because obviously not everyone is going to read the rules, and sometimes rules could be mistakenly put out, and some people may just miss out, of course, on it. But anyway, enough about talking about that. Let's just get on with the action, because we are moments away from it.
Yeah, we're just waiting. Everyone now has lined up on the grid, just waiting for the lights to come on at the front of this grid for this final evaluation race here at PSGL. The 5 lights are on. And we are underway here in Belgium. It's a pretty even start from the front two. You can see Ash just moving over there as Cohen's actually got a better second run. Is this Alfa Romeo going to try and go all the way round the outside? To be fair to Ash, he hasn't squeezed him off the circuit. And yet Cohen has already got ahead. But now you're going to see that Ash is going to get to that slipstream. He's really close coming through Eau Rouge and will probably have to lift off through Radion as they enter the Kemmel Straight. We've had a McLaren go off early on at turn 1, and that is Kolesnik, and here comes the slipstream in. You can see there you've got Ash, he's got Alfa Romeo in front of him, he's got a Mercedes alongside him. Cohen just about hangs on to the lead in the end because I think Ash was more defending from Lars than attacking there, and the Confessor, he's trying to make his way up ahead of Legend, who must have got ahead of him on that start as well. Some more swaps in the midfield, but yeah, seems to be an even getaway from the front two. Cohen, after that initial stage when you need that traction, seems to get his start better than the pole sitters. That's how he's got into the lead, and Ash was unable to fight back for now. No DRS obviously until the end of lap 2, but a very good start from the Alfa Romeo. BDG to Jordan did predict him for the win, and it already looks as though his predictions coming pretty good. He's had a very good start from the Alfa Romeo. He needs to try and break that 1 second window obviously in the next lap and a bit.
He's brilliant start from Cohen. I saw him obviously off the line. It was pretty equal, like you said, him and Ash. And Cohen just got on the traction much quicker than Ash, and not only that, into the corner, very brave. He was around the outside, and he just held it there. And a very good driving from both of these drivers to obviously make sure that no contact or no issues were made between them. And Cohen getting around the outside, a brilliant move there from the Dutch driver, and Ash, of course, as well, coming back at him. Cohen defending quite difficult, and obviously he's defended well. And you see F1 Legend in the pits on lap 1.
Yeah, now
I don't know why.
Yeah, we've also just seen the fastest lap of the race set by Atomic at 57 seconds apparently, but that's just... There's a patch coming out soon. Maybe many of these things will get fixed, like the fact that Cohen is still leading the race, but might not be for much longer, as Ash just streaks around the outside of him and is now actually in the lead, as it says on the timing screens. Atomic has not done a 55-second lap because we definitely have to invent an own tier for him if that was the case, and we're on lap 2, not lap 3, but to be honest I could spend the next 21 laps talking about bugs on this game, so Codemasters, if you're listening, sort it out please mates, that'd be much appreciated from everyone. But Ash just got a fantastic run there as Atomic leaves the session again. Legend has put the hard tyres on, very interesting, as I'm wondering if Amazon are actually listening to me, as there they go, they put up the pit strategy. Very good timing from themselves, but Ash must have got a fantastic run there to get into the lead of this race. Or maybe Cohen is just thinking, I'll stay behind, try and save a bit of ERS and fuel in your slipstream. And let's not forget, it is all about setting consistent lap times, not as much about the racing.
Yeah, of course, and Ash Best, of course, getting Cohen on the straight again. Cohen was, he did go through there. I don't really know if Ash saw that on the same on his screen, but Cohen was ghosted through there. It's again another issue that we've seemed to come along with the servers. So we've already seen the times glitch. We've already seen so many glitches, and Cohen's now fallen behind quite a bit because now he's under pressure from Lars behind. But I just hope all these bugs get fixed, if I'm honest. But I just want to mention about Legend. Already, we thought that he was alright on the sauce, and he done what was asked, and then he just went on the hards like that, and that's going to be even more difficult for the admins to really sort out for him, because obviously he's on a hard tyre, and you know his times are going to be a little different to those in front. So it's a bit disappointing. Some people haven't read the rules. One person, it gets a little bit aggravating, but it's fine. But when there's multiple people who forget to check the rules and regulations, it can get quite annoying, especially for the directors that have to sort it out.
Yeah, the top 3 though, Deuces is getting away now ever so slightly, and Deso has just moved ahead of Massina there, taking full advantage of DRS, using a bit of his ERS as well. And I do find it, so speaking for myself, I find it a bit easier on this game with the new ERS management system. It reminds me of the old F1 game from 2011 to 2013 when you had the curves button. I do tend to use it in a similar way to those games, so maybe that's why I feel a bit better. Still nowhere near the standard of these guys, obviously, as we've had a spinner further down the field that is hyped coming through. Pruhon doing pretty well, got himself up into the top 10, but now drops down to 13th. No damage done Obviously, none of the drivers have to worry about that. They do have to worry about penalties, though, as Confessor picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And later on in the race, I will be going through the race director and grassing them all up for their many penalties that they may or may not have collected. Yeah, lap 3, then coming towards the end of lap 3, and Lars looking very racy. He's in a bit of an awkward position, though, because obviously he's trying to overtake Cohen. Cohen having the DRS, he might have to think about doing it somewhere else, maybe where the Alfa Romeo driver isn't going to expect it.
You have to be a little bit more creative when you're sitting behind a driver who's already got DRS. You have to be a little bit creative. Here may be an opportunity, if he gets the good run off the exit, to follow with Cohen and get past Ash here. I do doubt he'll go for it, and I do doubt Cohen may go for it as well. He could do, but it looks like Ash is defending well, and yeah, Cohen's not really using overtake. He's thinking smart about it, and all these drivers thinking rather smart, just sitting behind and just not wasting any sort of ERS there. And perhaps even in a real race scenario, you would see Ash best struggling with that, obviously, because he's got to defend from these guys which have DRS. He may have to use his overtake to keep in the lead. So for the leader, it's a bit of a dilemma. Do they concede a position now and maybe go again after because they believe they're quicker? Or do they use to overtake to stick ahead? It's a bit of a dilemma, but obviously these drivers are very smart. They figure it out quite quickly, and yeah, like, the opportunities will come. And like you said, to strike Cohen, Lars has to wait a little bit and look for an opportunity to come with the DRS.
Yeah, most definitely. These drivers do have a lot to think about, managing tyres, managing fuel, managing the ERS. And you can see Cohen actually doing that best out of the front three at the moment. He's nearly 20% up on Ash, as we've just seen Zhuo Finn getting it wrong through the campus chicane. That will drop him down to 14th, just ahead of Atomic, who I don't think is back in the lobby yet. Shame for him, and Legend, who's had that pit stop. Seeing Mikkel Itzy getting past It's Always Chaos and Josh. We're nearly going 3 wide into the bus stop, and thankfully it all sorts itself out, and there's been a bit of a tap there between Chaos and Mikulitsky, and it seems like Heights is having a few connection issues as well, actually, in the other racing point. That's a shame for them. Ash getting a good exit out of Lassos. That might just protect him for a bit here. He's not bothering going into overtake for now. Neither is Cohen, but he's a lot closer than he was last time around. And as you can see, Ash sticking to the right-hand side of the road. Cohen just following him, getting the slipstream for as long as possible. Now the Alfa Romeo moves to the outside. We'll be able to go all the way around the outside at Lacombe. He's just ahead before the braking zone. Ash knows that corner is Cohen's, lets him by. Sensible driving from the Red Bull, but a great move from Cohen, using full advantage of that DRS. He is into the lead of this race. Both Red Bulls actually losing a position on that lap, as Mazzina also got ahead of Desso.
Yeah, like you said, it's very intelligent driving, very fair driving from both the drivers. That corner at Lacombe can be quite difficult to go, I suppose, side by side, or at least with the car on the outside ahead, because the car on the outside ahead, on the inside, you've got to basically predict when this outside car is going to come in, and he can turn in at any point at that point. And if he turns in too early and you don't react enough, you're sent spinning. And I'm sure Ash knew that, and Ash, very intelligently, just backed out and just said, yeah, Cohen, you've got this corner for now, but I will be back very, very soon indeed on you. I know I can catch up with you on the straights with the DRS available to me. So now he's got Lars to think about anyway at the moment, so Lars may be thinking about a move on Ash best, so Ash could lose 2 positions on this lap. Doesn't look like it though, so he's just stuck ahead, and like I said, Cohen's now going to be leading this train. He's got to be the one to defend from 2 drivers who'll be obviously looking to get by with the DRS in favour of them as well.
Yeah, most certainly. Will we see an undercut from any of these guys in the next couple of laps as well? Undercut still obviously very powerful. Maybe not yet. Maybe just leaving it a bit later until they can get in some free air. You don't want to get stuck behind slower cars. Lars actually just drops back ever so slightly there. We might see another change of position this time around. Cohen not even bothering to defend the inside line. Now it's Ash's turn to retake the lead of this race. So these two keep swapping around, and Lars not able to really get involved in the lead battle as much as he'd have wanted. Been another swap for position as well further down the field. It's Always Chaos getting past Mikulitsky, so that is now the racing point up into 7th place. He'll try to catch up to the Confessor up ahead, who's him and Desso just dropping back ever so slightly from Mazzina. Now that the AlphaTauri has got ahead of the Red Bull, he's got that 1 second window out. He's smashed that window. He's 1.5 seconds ahead of the Red Bull. Maybe we could see him try to catch up to those lead cars. Might be a bit harder though, obviously, because he doesn't have DRS at this point in the race.
Well, we've got Michalizzi getting close to its Always Chaos. I don't know who was ahead before or whether there's been many position changes here down towards the back. There's a little bit more gaps forming at the back. At the front, it's a little bit less. However, Michalizzi sticking with its Always Chaos at the moment and could be looking for a move. Like you said, the Confessor as well. Looking to close in on Deso right now, but he really needs to crucially get in the 1 second, which he hasn't got, so he will not get DRS on this straight. If you've got the full track map, which I think you have, Luke, you can see that green target look like circle there. As I tried to explain that, but it was quite terribly explained. That is basically the DRS activation point, and you have to be within 1 second there. If you're within 1 second after that tough, you will not get the DRS if you weren't there before the activation zone became a thing. And it's the same thing here. If you're not within the second mark, then you're not going to get the DRS. As I have lost my most of my deltas. However, Cohen has overtaken Ash, and again, these two playing it respectfully, playing it safe. They're not losing time from each other, and obviously, with it being an evaluation race, they're treating it like an evaluation race, but they are getting a little bit racy with each other. But they're not losing each other time. They're not stressing too much with each other. Having just like a nice friendly battle, and that's just what we like to see. No, obviously, people going and pushing people off track, etc. It's good to see this sort of racing.
Leave it until the final few laps, and it might get a bit more racy once the adrenaline starts flowing. We did see a few pit stops on that lap. Lars, Deso, Chaos, and Joss coming in. So Lars is going for that undercut. He was very close behind Ash and Cohen, obviously, so it wouldn't surprise me if we do see the two leaders come in this lap to try and cover off the Mercedes. He'll be quicker now, but a bit slower at the end of the race when he has to manage his tyres. I too have lost all of the deltas for some of the front drivers, so I do apologise for that. But you can still see, obviously, visibly that the gap is close between Cohen and Ash. Are either of them going to come into the pits? And indeed, both of them do. Mazzina following as well. I think we could have pretty much everyone who hasn't pitted coming in now as the Confessor just taps the wall slightly. Coming into the pit lane, he'll be pretty glad that damage is off. There we go, a nice sign that the pit window is open for those that started on the medium, so maybe Patrick should listen to that. As Ash has been held in the pits there. I'm not sure if that was just the game actually showing him as being held, but there we go. Bjorn is now going to come out very close with this battle, actually. Ash is still in second place. Cohen is there. Patrick's actually just ahead of Lars, so I think the Mercedes actually got held up slightly by Patrick, who started on the medium tyres. So Lars tried the undercut. Unfortunately for him, it hasn't worked out.
We do have a choice of car here, and I guess a logical one you could think of would be the Williams, really, because the Williams, you don't get held up. You go across the pit lane, you do your stop, and then you just go out again. You're more likely to hold other people up than people are to hold you up. I mean, you can still be held up when you're the Williams, and it can be quite a wait to even get out of the pits, especially in a safety car scenario on an early lap. Fortunately, we haven't got a safety car, so that just favours the guys who've chosen the Williams even more. And the cars at the front of the pit lane are, like I said, more likely to get held up by cars behind. And we've seen that there again with Lars, of course, getting held up by another driver who has their pits further down the pit lane. And this is a bit of a scrap, isn't it? Look at this, Bjorn leading the way on old soft tyres with Cohen just behind the two leaders away. And I think that's Lars as well, who's caught right back up. Oh my word! He was 1 second. He was 1 second behind a minute ago, and now he's a few tenths behind.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
because Bjorn was on slower tyres. And you can see we're pretty much going nearly four wide here as Cohen in the lead of this race. Ash does get ahead of Bjorn, and Bjorn dives into the pits. I'm sure Lars will be very appreciative of that fact. So we've only got a few drivers yet to pit. Mazzina's caught slightly up to these drivers. It's an interesting point you make there about the pit lane and drivers choosing certain cars. I know Louis Welsh always likes going for the Williams when he has the options, just because of what you've said. He doesn't really get held up and can go for it a bit more coming out of the pit lane. So, bit of strategy that some of the drivers might choose. You can see here, Cohen, Ash getting a fantastic run there, actually. He's going to be ahead a long way before we even get to the braking zone. Cohen deciding to get in the slipstream, to gain a bit of speed down this straight. But that is another change for the lead. Red Bull has got ahead of the Alfa Romeo, and because Bjorn just held these two up ever so slightly, it's allowed Lars to catch that gap back up. So pretty much as we were with the front three after the pit stop period. Mazina still in fourth, trying to catch these guys up. Dezo dropping a bit further back as he's now stuck behind Patrick, who just gets it slightly wrong through the main corner, nearly ended up in the wall. This is a problem with this track as well. You can get a bit unlucky, as you saw with Bjorn and Ash and Cohen. They just caught him up at the point where it's really difficult to overtake, and now Deso is going to lose a lot of time, and that's allowed the Confessor to get back within that 1 second window.
Deso would like this a little bit. He would dislike this maybe, and this is where he would dislike it, when Patrick makes a silly mistake like that. But Deso does get past pretty quickly, and the Confessor is coming now. And look how much that's held up Deso now. The Confessor would probably be liking his chances maybe to get into 5th place here. Deso's kind of struggled in the race pace. He's done alright in qualifying, but in the race, he's been a bit, I wouldn't say poor, but he's not really been on the pace compared to the top 4. Like, he's really dropped back to Messina, who is starting to kind of catch Lars and the guys in front, but I don't really know. But this is going to be, once again, possibly a change near the front. I don't think Cohen could get Ash. Ash is now 7 tenths clear of him, so I'm pretty sure Ash is going to stick in the lead for now, but you know what it's like, the DRS and the overtake together can be a rather wonderful combination to catch up with the car ahead.
Yeah, Cohen not using overtake. Neither is Lars, so they're just happy to stick in second for third for now, and there we go. Confessor getting past Deso. So I think Patrick did him a favour there. The Renault boys, perhaps not intentionally, but good teamwork between them. So the Confessor is now up into 5th. Michalizzi, I will be able to say that right by the end of the race. That is my aim for this race, say that right. Michalizzi gets ahead of It's Always Chaos, so that is another swap between those two. They've been battling hard as well before and now after the pit stops. Only driver who is yet to pit for the medium tyres is Juho Finn, who must really be starting to struggle now on 9-lap old soft tyres. Obviously, Patrick started on medium, so there'll be another 3 or 4 laps before he decides to get rid of them and go for the soft tyres. We've got a yellow flag, and that is Legend, who's gone off with the second part of Pujon, and he's retired. So surprising to see him retire at this point. So it's an evaluation race. He can't get damaged, and it's just about showing consistent pace. So that probably will work against him, actually. And now, interestingly, at the lead of this race, Ash is more than a second ahead of Cohen. So this could be Lars' chance to move up into second.
Yeah, Ash playing a bit of a push game at the moment, push at the moment to get away from Cohen, and now that he's got out of there, he's kind of just realised obviously that Lars, of course, is right behind Cohen and will be a put big pressure on Cohen, so Cohen may struggle, of course, and they may even lose a position, like you said, to Lars, because Lars will have the DRS, Cohen won't if he uses the overtake, which he has done, but look at his overtake, he's almost out of it. Cohen, I think, has a little bit more than him, but Lars is going to go for the move anyway, and there he goes, up to second place, and Cohen squeezes him a little bit, but Cohen just sticks behind, and once again, no real too much troubles there, but obviously, of course, these two may be battling for a little while now, which is helpful for the leader, Ash Best, who's now, of course, like I said, over a second ahead. Yeah,
so a good lap from Ash allowed him to pull away from Cohen and just gets himself a 3-second time penalty. We will be checking all the penalties near the end of the race just to get the race directors to see how everyone has been doing. The first real chance Lars has had to get past one of these guys without the car in front having DRS, and he's taken advantage. He's up into second position, and again Mazzina's staying pretty constant at that 1.5 second behind, not able to get much closer, which is a shame for him as he tries to obviously get onto the podium. Lars has got within a second. He'll be too far back to obviously have an overtake, but just staying within that second will allow him to catch up and maybe just save a bit of DRS. He's looking very low at the moment. Once you get below 10%, the deployment does drop, and it's about 150 horsepower that you get from electrical energy on these modern Formula 1 cars. It's a pretty big chunk of power to be losing all of a sudden. Halfway through this race, where then we've had 11 laps, 11 to go. We've still got the pole sitter leading the race. Swap between, well, actually, Mazina started third. Lars has come from fourth to second. He had a very good first lap to get involved in these front three. Some other big gainers so far. Patrick has gone up 5 places. Obviously, he's yet to pit. And biggest loser, Tomic, who I think is still disconnected. He's gone down 7 places, and Josh has gone down 3. It's really not been a good day for the Williams drivers. Juho finally comes into the pits on those soft tyres. He's had a very good run on those, but be looking decidedly second best by now. Dezo trying to close up to the compressor. These look as though there could be a race-long battle for 5th and 6th. And Michalizzi and Chaos still battling with Josh behind them. 8th, 9th and 10th at the moment, but that will become 7th, 8th and 9th when the Renault ahead of them pits.
And it's this point in the game not being a great thing to us at the moment. It's telling us he's on 0 lap old medium tyres, but he has been on them since the start, Patrick, and he's gone wide there, so it does show that his tyres are starting to go. And this is a battle to watch out for, really, because Patrick is going to be like a sitting duck with those tyres, and Michalizzi, it's always Chaos, and of course Joss as well, battling for 8th place in what, like you said, would be 7th place. So Patrick has a bit of a mind to think here. Does he go into the pits this lap and obviously get away with any chances of like getting in squabbles or battles which may cost him time, or does he just stay out and just say, I want a bit of track action, so, you know, just come at me? I'm hoping he thinks the thing before. He doesn't. He stays out for another lap, so Michalizzi, it's always Chaos, and perhaps even Joss as well, do have to take it the hard way, as Patrick doesn't give in to his position that easy, despite how old his tyres may get, and I don't really know the percentage, but all I know is that the soft tyres, they do get to around 60% after like lap 8, so that's obviously not a lot at all. Sorry, that's a lot. That's a lot in there, as Michalizzi does get him off the exit of Radion there, and also it's always Chaos following through as well, so Patrick down to 9th place then, so he will need to get those mediums off surely this lap, and he's losing time and it's not helpful for him.
Yeah, the Mercedes at the racing point will be happy that they've got through. Joss unable to get through at that point. In fact, Michalizzi had to just hold off slightly coming up Rouge because he had so much more grip, just pushing him around the Bruxelles chicane, and you just see Patrick is twitchy out of every single corner. Those mediums definitely decidedly past their shelf life at the moment. Surely he'll be coming in this lap just to have a bit of fun towards the end of the race. He'll drop a long way around the field. In fact, Joss might have a go into Campus. This isn't normally an overtaking point, but that's how much more grip he's got. He's just easily able to carry more speed through Pouhon and then straight round the outside of the second part of that chicane. So he is now up into 9th position. Back up at the front of this race though, Ash is still keeping that gap at around a second. He'll be fairly happy with that at the moment. Lars has stayed ahead of Cohen for now. Mazina again, frustratingly for him, not able to get within that 1 second window. What can Lars perhaps think about doing now? He's still low on ERS, but to have any chance in this race, you think sooner rather than later, given the fact that he's on 1 lap older tyres, he needs to close within a second of Ash and take advantage of that DRS that he would get.
Well, he's lost a bit of time at the source there, so he's not going to get it here. It looked like he was going to get down, and it was on 1.001. So he may have got that down. I think he just maximised on entry and didn't maximise on exit, which, in my opinion, if you are chasing for DRS in this race, then perhaps that should have been the one, as Cohen goes down the inside there. And Lars did stick it there, but he did decide to bail out of it, as Cohen gets a 3-second penalty. I don't really know where he's got that. I was on board with Lars, I didn't really see anything wrong with his lines, but I guess penalties don't matter too much, because I believe Big C did say, or Connor did say that at the end of the day, track position don't really matter. It's really just about your race pace and what you can prove. And, well, Lars here losing the position to Cohen, and now it's 1.6 seconds. That's lost him time again. These two perhaps maybe should start working together a bit more. As Lars a little bit slidey through there, in fact, as he gets a bit too much curb, and that's brought Messina into this battle as well. So this could get really tasty for second place at the end of the race.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you said. Connor's not too bothered about penalties. I think if you manage to get 9 penalties and get yourself disqualified, he might frown upon you just a tiny bit, as well as a fantastic run coming out of Paul Fair and through Blanchimont. He's going to be able to get alongside through the bus stop. We'll have to wait and see here. He's trying to go all the way round the outside at the bus stop. He'll have the inside for the next point. That is a great move, and he'll have DRS on the run down to La Source. All the Cohen can do is stick behind now. It's always Chaos has had a moment somewhere as he's now dropped down into 10th position, and Patrick's actually still going around for now, but Cohen was getting caught out, I think, a bit by surprise there by Lars, who's managed to get ahead. Will he be able to stay ahead though on the run down towards Lecombe? We've seen Chaos there, he's coming into the pits, so not quite sure why he is doing that, but we might be able to see Cohen go for a move. Last time he went down the inside at Lecombe. This time he's going to have to go all the way round the outside. Lars is still there. What forces Cohen over the curves, over the sausage curves, and he's going to have to try another day. But all this battling, all of a sudden Ash is 2.3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, and also Messina's in this battle now, so he's going to get his hands a bit dirty perhaps in this battle. We've seen it's always Chaos. What happened to him is at turn 15. It was a similar thing to what you said. It's a dangerous corner, but he didn't hit any walls or anything. He just went a little wide there, and I think he got a bit too much curve perhaps, and yeah, he lost the rear end, and I think that's perhaps why he came into the pits, just to maybe replace his medium tyres, but I'm not sure if that's allowed. I don't really know. Again, I'm not too sure about the whole regulations, like the whole thing in terms of things like that, but yeah, I guess Chaos has done that really just to make sure that he is getting the best lap times he can get, and maybe he can make those mediums to the end, because it probably cost him a bit. But yeah, like I said, Messina in this battle now, it's going to be a really interesting battle to the end. And I think Lars kind of caused it a little bit with Cohen. And I think Cohen will be a little bit unhappy with Lars perhaps. Cohen losing the rear end there, and almost sliding a lot of wheel spin off the exit of the last corner at bus stop. But yeah, those tyres are starting to go off a little bit, maybe a little bit overheated. This isn't a track where you get overheating a lot. However, Cohen does have a bit of an understeer setup as well, which may lead to that perhaps, but who knows.
Yeah, he's actually dropped a long way back behind Lars here. He'll still have DRS, but won't get too much advantage of the slipstream. I'm not sure if he's trying to clean his tyres up there, and Messina decides to just wait. I think Cohen put overtake on just a tiny bit too early coming out of the bus stop, because when I went on board with him, he was very sideways, and he had the green overtake button lit up, so I think he's just gone a bit too much on the power. Patrick has finally come into the pits. He's on those soft tyres, only drops down in the end to 11th place, so he's going to be lightning in the final stages of this race. Should easily catch up and get past Hype for the final top 10 position. You can see now Cohen's losing time to Lars, as well as gained a bit to Ash Best, so maybe there is still a battle for the lead to be had here, and Cohen now perhaps thinking more about just defending his third place rather than attacking from Lars, because he's going to be under big pressure next time around.
It's not really good for Cohen. He would love to stick in that. Just that DRS alone can be crucial with your race pace. It can really tell the story of how your race goes. Now he hasn't got that. He hasn't really got an advantage, because you could probably find an extra tenth or two, or probably even 3 tenths from that DRS on both the straights where it's available. But obviously without that, and in fact when he'll have someone behind him with the DRS, he really has to rely on his ERS, and as you can see, he's not exactly got the most of it right now. Only 24%, as Messina has 50% there, so Messina probably would like to get a bit past Cohen here, and maybe get past Cohen. However, he may just want to stick behind in the DRS, because it won't really change his lap time too much, and it only helps Cohen out if he does get past, if you think about it.
Well, he's definitely going for it. He's got overtake on, so maybe he thinks he can get within that 1 second of Lars, all importantly, next time around. So there we go, the Alpha Tauri back up into third position. It is where he started. He dropped down at the start behind Lars and Desso, and now he's got past Desso earlier on, caught these guys up, now got ahead of Cohen, who is down into 4th place. Can Messina keep up with Lars? Could the pair of them, perhaps even the trio with the Alfa Romeo of Cohen, work together to close that gap to Ash Best? It is 1.5 seconds then, with 5 laps to go. Further down the field, Desso been able to stay with the compressor in the Renault, this battle for 5th and 6th. He stayed with him, but as you can see, he's using a lot of fuel and ERS to keep up with the pace, and he's not really been able to challenge pair. Now 2.5 seconds off of that battle for 4th position. It's been a very clean and consistent race from the pair of them. I think they'll be reasonably happy with how it's gone.
Yeah, Desto has fallen back a little bit considering he did have a good start up in 4th place. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't really feel like he's disappointed. He has done very well, and obviously all these guys in front of him and behind him as well are all very talented drivers. A lot of them very, very close to him on pace. And Deso obviously in PSGL F1 last season, he'd want to get it again this season. This is a position where he could get it. But like I said earlier, it is a position where you may not be in F1. So we see him go a little bit wide there, probably just to maximise the exit speed, get a little bit more at the exit. Hasn't really worked. He's 8 tenths still behind. But yeah,
sorry to interrupt
really
you, Sam. Mazina is definitely caught up to Lars. He's caught up and overtaken him well before we've got to the braking zone for Lecombe. So Lars in 3rd place. Is Cohen going to be able to close it off to have a go? Not this time around. I think that's why Messina went past Cohen. He knew he had the pace to catch up and overtake Lars. All of a sudden, he's got 2 cars in 2 laps. The Alpha Tauri up into 2nd position. Can he now catch up to Ash Best? It's getting very close between Cohen and Lars. I'm not sure, was there any contact between the 2 of them there?
There was a tiny bit around Le Bruxelles. Please say I said that correctly. I don't know if I have. But basically around that corner, there was a little bit of a contact there. I think Lars went a little bit wide. Cohen thought, oh yeah, there's an opportunity to maybe get him down the inside there. Lars did close the door, and perhaps that may have been Cohen's fault really, or Lars' fault, but nothing too much an issue with it, but a little bit of a squeeze from Lars there, maybe something that Cohen would not enjoy. However, Cohen saw the opportunity, he went for it, and obviously it's kind of a risk around the corner like that to go for it, because drivers can have a little bit of oversteer, especially with these more worn tyres, the wheel spin as well. So a little bit of a risk from Cohen, didn't really pay off, but Cohen still with Lars. And look at that, Michelizzi now, not Michelizzi, Messina, sorry, 1.1 seconds clear of Lars, so now Cohen has a real advantage to get past Lars this time. Yeah,
and he does have 1 lap of fresher tyres out of these top 4 drivers that are battling at the moment. Lars did pit a lap earlier than them. He went for that undercut, didn't quite work out. Cohen really close to Lars at the moment. He doesn't have much ERS though to maybe get this move done. He is going to have DRS. Lars is leaving him a car with nothing more. There's Mansell centre sail wheel banging going down McKemmel Straight. It's not put the Alfa Romeo driver off though. He takes that 3rd position. We're happy with that, and all this battling is actually just allowing the Confessors to catch up ever so slightly. So if they keep going with this aggressive driving, who knows what could happen as Lars goes very deep into Bruxelles. And trust me, Sam, I don't know if you said it right, because I definitely don't know if I'm saying it right, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. These top 6 well clear of Michelizzi in 7th. He's got Joss just behind him. Then it's a big gap back to Bjorn and Height for 9th and 10th. Patrick still slightly catching up as Lars is off. Lars has gone round at the exit of Pouhon, and he has dropped all the way down to 6th place. There's been a lot of wheel banging. I'm not sure if there was any involved there, as I had just cut away, or was that just oversteer on the old tyres? And in fact, he's now down to 8th position. You can see he's really overheated them rears.
Yeah, it's very punishing. Pouhon is, if you get a little bit of the curb as well, and like you said, it's the worn tyres as well, it's not a very good combination. You go over that curb slightly, you get a lot of oversteer, and basically your car is almost sideways, and basically it's impossible to save it. So obviously a mistake from Lars, but I don't really think it's too much laughable, because you have seen a lot of people do that, haven't you, in league racing. Pouhon, we've seen people, of course, at turn 15 as well go a little wide there. Haven't seen it tonight, but we have seen people get punished by some curbs around this track. So obviously there is one that has punished Lars there, and that is probably the most dangerous one, to go on the curb a bit. But that obviously possibly has come down to a bit more of frustration, perhaps, that he lost that position to Cohen, and he would probably want to get that provisional podium in 3rd place there, and he'll be a bit disappointed, but obviously that just shows the frustration. It's basically been taken out that curb, and it's took him out in return, I suppose. if I wanted to get into poetry or something like that. I guess it'll work, but probably not.
Yeah, who knows if he'd managed to get on the podium on penalties. Speaking of penalties, it's time to look through all the race directors then and see how they all are doing. Ash, he had a lot of penalty warnings early on. He's only had one penalty so far, though, so that's 3 seconds of penalties for him. Also 3 seconds for Messina, just behind it. He's really starting to close up. Cohen has 1, 2, 3, 4 penalties at the moment. That would have allowed the Confessor to catch up, but he also has 4 penalties and he's 1 warning away from another. Deso, he's kept it reasonably clean, only 1 penalty at the moment. Michalizzi with 2. Joss, 2 warnings so far, so very well done from him. Lars has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 penalties, so he might end up getting disqualified if he doesn't keep getting frustrated at the moment.
He's just got another one.
So he might have 8 by now, so he's definitely pushing a bit hard, shall we say. Hyped hasn't got any yet. Chaos has 3. Patrick, just the 1. Kolesnik, 1, 2, 3. Joho with 1, 2, 3, and 1 warning off another. Atomic has not been here for most of the time, and Legend we saw retire early on. He only has 1 penalty, and I finished that just in time to see how close Messina has got to the back of Ash Best now with 1.5 laps to go. I think we could see a dive on the final lap perhaps into Lecombe, and Ash might have to just save a bit of the RS. He's got slightly more at the moment, but what can he do to just make sure he's in the lead at the end of this race?
Well, Messina's had great pace on these mediums, let's just say. He's been a little bit more fortunate with the battling, of course, ahead, which has closed him in a little bit. The battling with Cohen and Lars, of course, and obviously Lars' mistake as well meant that he couldn't come back at Messina. But Messina's just shown great pace as well, and this is what you like to see as well in the evaluation race. Like, if you're got a bit of a slow on the soft stint, it don't really matter, does it? Like, because if your medium stint is good, it could put you into that top tier. And obviously a lot of these drivers going for it tonight, that top tier. And Messina, in my opinion, is a true candidate, and he's really shown what he can do tonight in that AlphaTauri. And he may even steal the victory, like you said. He's closed pretty quickly into Ash Best here, and Ash Best will probably be feeling a little bit of the pressure, but I'm pretty sure he would like to soak up. He's got a lot of experience, Ash has, and obviously he would be looking for the same goal as Messina, and it looks like they should probably get it as well with the pace they've shown tonight.
Yeah, these will be the top 2 that it looks like, definitely on track. Which order will it be? Ash Messina or Messina then Ash? It's Red Bull versus AlphaTauri, the senior team versus the junior team. 1 lap to go then. Messina's a bit further back this time around. Both of them low on fuel. Ash has gone on overtake there just to try and break away slightly at the start of the straight, and that might have just done enough. Messina is closing. He's not going to be close enough though at all into Lecombe to have a go, so has to stay behind for now. Maybe into the bus stop chicane if he can get close enough through Paul Frere and all the way on the run through Blanchimont up to the bus stop chicane, but his tyres will be wearing pretty hard now. Patrick was closing up to the back of Hyde for 10th and 11th place. He has just dropped back ever so slightly, so these are the only 2 cars actually within a second of each other at this moment in the race. And unfortunately for you, Sam, you're not going to be able to see it, which is a shame, because it's getting very close indeed.
Oh, that's annoying. Got session no longer exists.
That's annoying is a bit of an understatement for yourself, as Messina's just got a twitch on for the exit off campus there, so that might be enough to allow Ash to get a better run through Staveley. You can see Messina's using all his ERS that he can at the moment. They're both going in full overtake. Will he be able to have a lunge into the bus stop chicane, or is the Red Bull of Ash just going to be able to hold on? He's closing, he's not going to be quite close enough. Goes as late as he dares on the brakes. Ash just has it covered off, and that will be enough for the Red Bull to come across the finish line and take the victory here in this evaluation race. Great performance from him, great performance from Messina. Nearly loses it across the line. Cohen stays in 3rd, even after penalties. Actually, no, Deso takes 3rd after penalties. Cohen is 4th, Confessor 5th, Michalizzi. Quiet race from him, sort of led the midfield group for most of that race. He comes home in 6th. Joss goes up to 5th in the end, ahead of Marquez's, who's now dropped down to 6th, and I'm sure that'll please him. Lars, 24 seconds behind his teammate in the end, because of, 7 or 8 penalties absolutely loaded with them, so that means Bjorn jumps in as well. That's the other AlphaTauri up into 8th. Height comes across the line. He's got Patrick right alongside him because Height has actually disconnected, so Patrick ends up 10th. Lars 11th after penalties. Height is 8th. It's always chaos. It pretty much sums up, I think, the end of that race with all these penalties. He ends up in 12th, and then it's Kolesnik Juho will be the final couple of finishes after Atomic disconnected early on. Great race from Ash in the end. It just soaks up all the pressure on that final lap. Managed his tyres well, you've got to say, in that middle section of that medium tyre stint. That's where he pulled away from his rivals, who at that time looked to be Cohen and Lars, and that's probably what gave him the victory tonight.
Yeah, Ash Best is very confident, very consistent as well. I look like the lap times. I didn't see them myself. I forgot to have a look at the race director myself, but obviously you were in charge of that. I could have took a look at him, but he did look very consistent out there in my opinion, and obviously very fast as well, especially on the medium stint. But also we had Messina, of course, as well, being very quick on the medium stint and quite consistent as well. Of course, getting ahead of Lars and Cohen in that second stint as well. So fair play to him, and obviously fair play to Ash for the win. And of course Desso as well for not getting penalties, which has led him to a podium spot as well.
Yeah, great job from the three on the podium. 2 Red Bulls. We knew Ash was going to end up there. We knew Desso was doing pretty well with the penalties. And obviously it's a Red Bull family there with the AlphaTauri of Mazina in second position. So here are the results then from the final PSGL evaluation race. Have these drivers done enough to get into F1? They'll find out on Wednesday. Ash, Mazina, Desso, your top 3. Cohen was in that top 3 for so long. Crossed the line 3rd, but dropped out to 4th on penalties. Joss in 5th. Him and Height, the only 2 drivers to keep it clean all the way through, so good job from them. Confessor 6th, Michalizzi 7th, Height 8th, Bjorn 9th, Patrick 10th, Lars 24 seconds of penalties plus a late spin equals 11th place for him. He showed good pace, but he'll be disappointed with the end results. Chaos 12th, Joho 13th, Kolesnik 14th, Atomic disconnected early on, and we saw F1 legend choose to retire from the race. I think I'll be very surprised if we don't see drivers like Ash and Cohen, probably with Mazina as well, probably Lars with the pace he's shown. Surely they'll be looking good for an F1 slot this season.
Yeah, I think they would, and obviously we've got to take in regard to the other ones because it'll be very imbalanced. We've seen, of course, drivers who are also looking to get into F1, and a lot of drivers on the other side as well, including the other one we had tonight. We've had 4 sessions, so like I said earlier, it's equivalent to 5 slots from each group, which obviously it won't be equally shared out. It will be on everyone's driver's pace. I've got to be honest with you, I do think Ash will get into F1. That 44.0 is his fastest lap. He looked fairly consistent throughout the race. I think he definitely would be eyeing up a F1 seat. Same with Messina. His pace he showed on the mediums was brilliant. As for Cohen, I think Cohen could get into F1 potentially. It just depends on obviously what happens on Wednesday, and obviously there's a slight chance as well for Lars as well, who showed good pace, and maybe Deso as well. But the main 2 who I definitely would probably be, I'd be surprised if I'm not going to be seeing the top 2 who finished tonight in F1. As for Cohen, Deso, Lars, etc., I think they're going to be in the bouts, but it just depends about the other grids and what happens.
Yeah, you can actually see grid 1 from the evaluation race 11 tonight. They are still going underway now. They've had a few technical difficulties, so only on lap 6, and it's Lickle Blocks taking us through that race now because Jess has had a few issues. That is all from myself and Sam for this evening. If you want to find out who is going to be placed where, don't forget to check out PSGL on Wednesday to get everyone who will be in what tier, see who will make this top tier, and I think us commentators might get to find out as well what tiers will be looking over this season. So looking forward to that on Wednesday night, and that is Connor, Aaron and Ali Monda taking you through that. But for myself and Sam, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll be able to see you guys soon. Good night.